Hello everyone and welcome to another Grosso University educational webinar. My name is Dominic Caminata, CEO of Grosso University and industry-leading sales trainer. Those of you that attend our educational webinars know that we always strive to deliver a large amount of educational content that you can use to grow your business immediately. So as always with our webinars, make sure you got your notepads out, have plenty of pens available, get your popcorn ready, as we're going to begin to share rich content that you can use to grow your business and thrive in the coming years. Grosso University has a priceless benefit of consulting with companies all over the country. And there's common challenges that a lot of companies are feeling right now. And one of them that really stands out is lead generation and conversion. The big thing that Grosso University works on with our clients is helping them maximize conversion by empowering sales professionals to sell the leads they're given and maximize every precious opportunity. And also, we try to surround ourselves with the right partners that can help companies from phone call to install, everywhere in between, optimize their business. And this is no exception with today's guest. Today's webinar is titled Lead Source Optimization and Conversion. We're going to talk about the strategies for helping you turn any lead source into a customer. And for this webinar, we're joined by two of the brightest minds in the industry, Jim Mallers and Lucas Mueller. Jim is the Vice President of Business Development for EverCommerce, and Lucas is an account executive for Socius. EverCommerce and Socius are absolute leaders in digital marketing and technology solutions in the industry, and these guys are certainly mountains of knowledge when it comes to optimizing your marketing mix. Our goal for this webinar is going to be pretty simple. We're going to have a conversation and share useful information on how you can optimize your marketing mix and, of course, create a high-performance marketing plan. And also, we're going to talk about the little things you can do differently to capitalize on the different types of leads that you're issued to maximize conversion. Although the sales process should always be followed in a similar fashion on every lead, what I've learned in my career is that different lead sources tend to have different nuances to them that salespeople need to key to and understand. So first of all, Jim and Luke, I want to thank you both for taking time out of your day to provide a world-class education to our audience. How's everybody feeling this morning? Or this afternoon, right? It's afternoon already.
Amazing, fantastic, all the good things.
I think Jim said it best. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we're going to go ahead and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. And I always like for guests on our webinars to share a little bit how they got into the current role that they're in today. So Jim, I'll open up to you first. If you don't mind, explain to our audience a little bit about your background, how you became a part of EverCommerce, and of course, got into the role you're currently at with the company.
Yeah, great. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. So my name is Jim Mallers. I've been with EverCommerce now for 3 years. Prior to being with EverCommerce, I worked for a building product manufacturer called James Hardie Building Products. I'm sure many of you are familiar with them. I worked supporting their repair and remodel program for about 5 years, helping drive participation in that program. And more relevantly, I helped rebuild and drive growth inside of their contractor alliance program. So adding new partnerships, helping our contractors that were participating in that program kind of structure a new process and solidify process in their business so they could scale their growth. I left James Hardie, came over to EverCommerce because of the solution set that EverCommerce had. And having worked closely with EverCommerce, I understood the value proposition in having all these different parts and pieces that could be implemented into your business to help you kind of, again, create that process and streamline your growth. So I came over to EverCommerce, like I said, about 3 years ago. I started off in a sales leadership role on our lead generation businesses. Over the course of the last 3 years, we've done a lot of really cool work in pulling those lead generation businesses together with our marketing technology services so that we have these what were 10 disparate businesses combined into one EverConnect marketing technology solution business that's all about finding the right lead generation sources as well as marketing services to help take your business from where it is today to where you want to go. So over the course of that time, obviously I built sales processes. I structured kind of our sales team and our go-to-market strategy and looked at our product evolution and said, what's good, what's bad, like how do we need to adjust or change with the changing environment? Obviously, like we've all been through it. We've seen the ups and the downs of kind of demand inside of the industry. And I then shifted into this business development role. So now I'm on the EverCommerce Central side, supporting this marketing technology solution business. work with people like Dominic and other partners to help make sure that we're all arming you in the industry with the information that you need to grow your business. So that's who I am. That's where I come from. Personally, father of two human babies, one fur baby, married to a wonderful lady for 10 years.
That's one hell of an introduction. It's a tough act to follow there, Lucas. So I appreciate you sharing that information there, Jim. So turn it over to Luke. Again, tell us a little bit about your background and, of course, how you got involved with Socius.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say the same. That's a tough act to follow. Thanks for having me, Dominic. My name's Lucas Miller. I'm an account executive here at Socius. For the past 6 years, I've been working in B2B sales in home improvement, technology, and most recently with Socius, digital marketing. So with Socius, it's my responsibility to work with people who are interested in becoming our partners on helping them figure out if we're the right fit. And if Socius is a right fit for a certain business, it's my job to explain why we're a great fit. And then once somebody does become a client of Socius, it's my responsibility to be their advocate, making sure that they're getting the best out of their partnership with us. I really enjoy at Socius working with business owners who are passionate about their overall revenue growth and making sure that their employees have enough food on the table. In working with some of my previous jobs in technology and software, you're working with maybe something that's not as important and crucial to people. So I really enjoy working with business owners on helping them realize their own revenue goals. In my free time, I really enjoy playing basketball, being active, listening to music, and having a good time.
Awesome. Wow, we got some impressive intros there. I'm not going to bore anybody with my story, but those of you that watched this before, you probably know my story already. But I appreciate you sharing that information. I think that really kind of sets the framework here. And I love what you're saying there about Socius, some of the things you love about the company and the culture. And it's my understanding the word Socius is derived from the Latin word for partnership, right? Or friend. So I really, really like that whole culture, because this is one of the reasons why I love our partnership so well, because that's really our goal here, is to truly partner up with our clients and be equally invested in their success as they are. And we want to make sure the results really speak for themselves and that we're incentivized based on results. You know, results are what matter most. That's what we're going to talk about, of course, on this webinar is what are some of the things I can do strategically in marketing to garner greater results, right? But as both of you know, preaching to the choir, there's a lot of companies right now that are struggling right now generating enough leads for their team. You know, of course, we got through the golden years of the home improvement industry, unprecedented growth and success, and so many people were just tripping over cash despite themselves. Even if their strategy was completely off, they're just falling into business, right? And now things are starting to normalize more and get back to reality. And I think a lot of people are really struggling right now knowing which direction to go and why the hell do I not have enough leads for my team? And that's really dangerous, right? Because, you know, with salespeople, and idle mind's the devil's playground, we want to keep them busy. So I guess just in a general sense, and I'll let both of you answer this question, what are some of the things you're seeing that are attributing to there being less leads, or let's just say contractors having a more difficult time filling up the schedule? Let's start with you, Jim.
It's a great question, and I wish there was a simple answer. I'm going to try and be concise. So let's start with why there are less leads, which is the number one question. I think we should always follow that with, like, are we actually seeing that there are less leads available to us, or are we looking for more leads because we're having less success with our leads, and then diagnose those problems independently. Yep. Let's act on the assumption that there are less leads available to you. What we're seeing from a demand standpoint. So when we think about leads, we think about demand, right? There's a fixed amount of demand that's available in your market. Your job as a business owner is to access as much of that available demand as possible. How do you access that demand? What channels are you participating in to access that demand? And what I'll tell you is what got you here won't get you there. So I talked to 100 contractors. 100 contractors are going to tell me, you know what built my business, or my number one lead source, or my best lead source has been referrals. Great. Working off referrals is going to get you so far, but it's not going to take you as far as you want to go. So when you look at accessing that demand, we really want to think about what channels are we participating in, and are those channels Optimized, and are we participating at the right rates? So if I'm participating in a channel, do I know what my results are, and am I able to turn up and turn down the volume in a way that is predictable? And if it's not, can I? And then if I'm participating in a particular channel, am I using the right source inside of that channel? So a good example of that is like if I'm participating in the aggregator channel, there's a bazillion lead aggregators out there. We all know this, and we've all had like war stories and say how we hate them. We all do truly probably hate them at some level, but we still pay them money because they are giving us leads, right? So they're accessing, there's demand there that you're accessing. And so you guys say, okay, there's all these different providers in this particular channel. Am I using the right provider, and how do I know I am? And am I evaluating other providers? Am I doing this regularly? So that's one piece of the pie. The other piece of the pie is really, and I hope that most of you are working with a sophisticated agency today, are you looking at the demand trends? And there are very specific demand trends out there that should be available to you through your marketing agency. Consider the project type. So Dominic, you talked about cash falling off trees during the pandemic. And like, in a way, it kind of was. We were getting a bunch of free handouts that were allowing us to go spend on projects that we might have otherwise put off, or we would have done a smaller version of it because we didn't have the available cash to us, the available time, right, or whatever it was as long as to do those projects. Well, that's changed. So now you start seeing the shift in demand where previously I might have been doing kind of a large format kitchen remodel, and now I'm doing a cabinet refacing job. I might have been doing a bath renovation, and now I'm doing a one-day bath conversion, right? So what does that look like, and how do I access that right demand? And then I'm sure you preach this all the time. I access that demand. I access it in one vertical or one, let's do that bath conversion. I access a one-day bath lead. Am I able to properly convert that into a full remodel, a full renovation, if that's what I strive for, or what my business is built on? Right. So I think those are kind of a couple of concepts I would think about, because I can go on for days, so I'll just kind of keep it at that level. Those are some of the things that are limiting our access to leads today.
Yeah, that's definitely really, really great insight, because I have some companies that have an overabundance of leads, and I have some companies that really are having a hard time keeping their salespeople the full pipeline. And I think a lot of it is they are expecting similar or even the same results out of the same lead aggregators that have given them success in the past. And maybe they're failing to diversify or capitalize on these other different lead sources that, again, every market, territory, product, service is going to garner different results, right? As you guys know. But and this is one of the things I love about what you guys are going to talk about, is how to properly diversify not just the lead sources, but even the product trends and things like that. Certain markets and territories is crazy, like things that I wouldn't even think of. Like I got a client in Michigan, and of course, those of you that have been to Michigan, it gets pretty damn cold there. They got like 8 months of winter, 9 months of winter. Outdoor living is exploding in Michigan. Outdoor living. You would think that would be like in a warm climate where we can actually use the damn patio for more than 3 months out of the year, right? But crazy levels of success in outdoor living. And then, like to your point, the one-day bath, kitchen refacing, stuff like that, where people are wanting to get the work done, but they're also forced to be more economical with the funds that they do have. But paying attention to that, and I think having an agency like you guys, or at least experts that can help forecast these things and project these things and investigate these market trends. If you're not doing that, I mean, that alone can transform your success in the coming years.
Yeah, and I would consider, like, think about this. You're growing a business, and we've all been there where we said, you know what, I'm going to grow, and the way I'm going to grow is I'm going to bolt on a new service. Leverage the resource to figure out what that next new service is you should bolt on. Because if you're in Michigan, to your point, you're not you're in Wisconsin, we know, you're not thinking about outdoor living for 6 months out of the year. I'm a Chicago guy. We never, to hang out outside in the winter was never something thought of, but having outdoor living space now is a big deal there just as well. So think about those trends and having that ability to say, this is what I want to bolt on, versus just jumping into something that seems easy.
Yeah, what's interesting is some clients I talk to, one of my pieces of advice is they should bolt on another product to their offering, right? They should look to diversify their menu of options for their clients, bolt something new on that is turnkey, profitable, easy to scale, things like that. But then some companies, it's the opposite. I'm like, you need to simplify the menu tremendously and focus on what is your specialty? Like, what is your number one strong suit? Because they have like 840,000 different options, and they're wondering why salespeople are having a hard time converting on leads. Well, it's ultra confusing and overwhelming going into a house with a billion different offerings, right? So it's interesting, depending on which companies we're talking about, some companies need to look into alternative products and services they could offer based on what's trending. And then some companies just really need to hone in and simplify the menu. And I always refer to like these restaurant saver TV shows, right? It's like one of the first things they always do is, let's simplify the menu here, guys. You don't need 546 different items on your food menu, right? Let's focus.
Yeah, be your own John Taffer. That's right.
Yes,
exactly. It's like what was working for me isn't working for me anymore. So now I try to do something different. And I think like Lucas, I'll let you speak to this, but you think about my website used to work for me, but it's not doing for me today what it used to do. Well, there's probably a reason for that, right? So what changed, or what did you stop investing? Or like what's going on there?
Yeah. So key over to Lucas here. Yeah. So definitely speaking to, the things you're seeing, and of course what you attribute to it being slightly more difficult, or the contractors being more proactive about diversifying their marketing mix.
Yeah, I think you both bring up some really great points. One thing that I want to add that I'm hearing from a lot of my clients that I'm working with is just that there's a lot more companies, a lot more competition that have kind of sprang up over the last few years, especially since COVID, that have just made the landscape in particular markets, pretty much every market, more competitive, right? So with that, of course, more competition makes leads can be less and few and far between, but also you have to really make sure that you're prioritizing speed to lead and that overall experience working with the homeowner. Developing that marketing mix so you're not so reliant on one or two lead sources is a huge key to making sure that you can have that consistent lead flow. As someone who is in the digital marketing realm, I love to talk with my clients about what other strategies they might be using, whether it is a lead aggregator or direct mail, or making sure that you're doing great job at home shows, right? Just making sure that you're not super reliant on one or two lead sources is a good way to make sure that you can have that variety, right? So you're not super reliant. Another thing too, like Jim said, being able to know your channels and what you can turn up and turn down, I think that's very crucial, but also making sure that you have a very clear understanding of your reporting. A lot of times when I'm working with a contractor, they might not really know their lead volume. They might not have a good idea their lead to appointment rate and their appointment to demo rate and their demo rate to close rate. All those sorts of information is really important when you're trying to figure out, number one, what your growth goals are, and number two, how can you get there? So just making sure that you truly do understand the ins and outs of your business and your sales is really key to making sure you know what's possible for growth.
Yeah. How many companies are you running into nowadays that aren't even using a CRM? Is that still a thing, or would you say most people are using a CRM?
For my conversations, I would say maybe 1 out of 4 are not using a CRM.
So about 25%, you think?
Yeah. It's interesting though, Dominic, like how you define a CRM as a business owner may differ. Like there are contractors who talk to you, like, my QuickBooks does all of it for me. Well, it's not really a CRM. I get that you're tracking some stuff inside of there for yourself, right? Or they're using an FSM, a field service management tool. Okay, great. That's getting you like certain places, but I feel like this is on repeat for me today for whatever reason, but like this is what you grew up on, so you just stuck with it and you haven't made that change. And the reality is, like, we all get it. Like there is a cost to change inherently. So if I make that change, so if you said like if it was 25% that don't have a CRM and you're going to invest in a CRM, that's a significant investment, because there's not just like the actual billing that goes into it, but there's actually like changing costs. Like you're going to lose people, you're going to lose efficiencies potentially in the short term to gain them in the long term. So are you willing to do that, right? And have you scoped that out and prepared yourself for that? And like you think about these businesses that grew so fast during like the lockdowns and COVID and all that, you grew fast and you weren't thinking about like making sure I processed dialed in, because I was worried more about like collecting all the money that was available to me. So now I got to go back through that. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was interesting that it's still that big of a percentage, and obviously we're going to see that changing. And that's part of the thing I see in the industry. You said a lot more companies coming into the mix. They're trying to ride this bandwagon of success in our industry. But then I also see the opposite happening over time, right? I see this massive influx of private equity that's doing this mass consolidation, gobbling up all these companies and investing billions of dollars in training and technology. So we had talked about the competition getting more fierce. That's one thing, just in the back of everyone's mind they should have is like more companies are going to be armed with high level and professional training and advanced technologies. And from what I'm seeing and from the people I'm talking to, the home improvement industry is getting more disrupted by technology and AI and all these other things than almost any other industry, which is weird because normally the home improvement industry is the last to adopt any technology. As we said, even the CRM that's been around for over 30 years. But right now, like in terms of how technology is disrupting our industry, it's almost more profound, the disruption in our industry than any other industry. So it's just interesting to see in the future how things are going to evolve. But one thing I'm seeing commonly right now, as I'm talking to clients all over the country, is the cost per issue lead seems to be on the rise. So it seems to be more expensive per issued lead. And of course, that affects everything in one's business. And of course, as you know, there's a lot of factors as to why the average cost per issued lead is on the rise. It could be a sales problem, it could be a marketing problem or market or a product, whatever it is. But in a general sense, what do you both feel is attributing to the cost for each issued lead kind of gradually increase, in some cases rapidly? I mean, I'm seeing companies, in some cases almost 30%, they're investing in marketing. And to me, that's like way out of control. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to, invest money to make money, right? So I guess what are some of the things that you're seeing that could be attributing to that?
I'm thinking of Shrek right now. There's a lot of layers to this onion.
There's a lot.
So I think the repeats on that Lucas already said first, some of that cost per issue lead going up is a factor of us being diligent as business owners and tracking it.
Yep.
So if we haven't been tracking it or we're not tracking it appropriately, that cost per issue is going to go up because we don't know what's driving in our business. So an example of that is if you aren't running a pro forma today of some sort that looks at your channels independently and you're looking at the number as a whole, the number as a whole keeps going up and you go, I don't know why I'm treating all these leads the same. And you're not able to kind of dial in and figure out, what's happening is it's this specific aggregator or this specific channel that is driving my cost per issue lead up. So that's one layer of the onion, I would say. Mm-hmm. The other layer of the onion is that the cost of doing business as a marketer or a lead generation company has gone up. So that kind of conversation we had about demand, as the available demand drops to normal rates. So I want to repeat that. It drops to normal rates. You're not seeing diminishing demand. Demand is not going down year over year, though we feel like it is. Demand is growing at a normal rate, which is somewhere between 4 and 6% year over year. Whereas during kind of those golden years, 3 years ago,
15%.
Yeah, right. So now it's normalized. We're seeing this kind of 4 to 6% growth. So accessing that, you have the same amount of people that are accessing, actually have more people accessing virtually like the same amount of leads or demand that's out there, which means that each click costs more money. Everything that you're doing, every activity costs more. And we can't just eat that cost out, passing that cost on. So you're seeing, and I'm sure everybody's like complained about it to somebody else, there's price increases that are happening on a more regular basis, right? Or they're greater on a less frequent basis. But that's a real thing. And that's why your cost per lead goes up, because your costs are just going up. And so you got to say, okay, am I raising my costs in line with that, right? What do we do when our material costs went up? We raise our costs to our buyers, our homeowners. Are we doing the same thing when it comes to our cost of doing business? And then the third layer of the onion, again, these are kind of general layers, but the third layer is how consumers buy. And think about that sophistication of consumers and kind of some of the stuff that's going on with TCPA right now. I think that there's a lot more business owners who are investing in different channels that are less reliant on that aggregated type of processing, because we have to be diligent about the one-to-one relationship now.
Yeah.
So as you go and you think about like just digital marketing, there is the like I'm doing a major product in my house right now, and I can tell you now I'm in the industry, so maybe I'm biased, but like I know that when I do my searches, and I do this not just when I'm doing my home improvement projects, like when I'm shopping for a new TV or whatever, I do the same thing. I never come out of sponsored ad because I know they're paying to be at the top, so it doesn't tell me they're the best quality. So I'm going down to the next level to figure out who I want to work with. And so if you think about those sources, right, your paid media is one of your more expensive sources because you're paying to be at the top. And when that demand cost goes up, we just talked about, your paid media cost goes up. So your cost per lead, not issued lead, cost per lead goes up. And what's the rate of conversion to demo? Your SEO costs are stagnant. So you'll see those kind of fluctuate, maybe go down, maybe go up. So the organic stuff is really where the key is if you can get ranked, right? And then your aggregators, it's just availability, demand, and then the quality of those leads. So one thing I think about there is, okay, if I've got like just digitally here, these three sources we're talking about, and there's many more, but let's talk about those three. Am I treating all those the same or differently? I better make sure that my dogs are hunting those paid media leads because they're hot, they're expensive, they want to do it now, they've already chosen up, they've already got an offer. Let's get them scheduled, booked, and demoed immediately. Those organic ones, they've done their research, they've chosen me for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I need to make sure that I leverage the same diagrams they've been reading in my pitch, in my request for a demo, and then at the kitchen table. And those aggregator leads, I know I'm one of many. So how do I stand out? How do I follow up? How do I stay followed up? How do I hit them up 3 months down the road when they've bailed on me or said they weren't ready or whatever it is, right? Am I treating those leads appropriately?
Excellent. It's great stuff. How about you, Lucas?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything that Jim said. One thing that I do want to add on to that he did mention was the importance of having that organic digital presence, right? Like Jim said, shopping for a TV, looking for a roofer. A lot of people are going to skip over those sponsored ads. A lot of people click on them, but a lot more people skip over them. Over half the people from studies that we've seen are going to end up in the organic section because searchers know that if you're showing up high in the organic section, your website's been around for a while. Google trusts you as an authority on the subject matter in your area. So you do kind of get a little bit of a boost there. You'll also want to have your website be that 24/7 salesperson so that the more organic leads you get, right, you don't have to pay for those, but you can have those free organic leads coming in that can drive your overall cost per lead down. One thing I think like Jim mentioned is very important is having a good understanding of your reporting so you can monitor your different channels. Like I said earlier, you really want to diversify your lead source so that you can understand, oh, this lead source is having a really high cost per lead. But maybe what's even more important is these are closing at a very high rate. Most of the contractors I talk to, while CPL is a very important metric, overall, like what's that lead source's closing percentage is something that people are paying more attention to.
Right? Yeah, what's the NSLI on it, right? I mean, if I'm paying $700 a lead, that sounds crazy, but if I have a $10,000 NSLI on it, then we're all good. That's obviously going to make a big difference.
Exactly.
And consider, what are you doing to bring your costs down? So not where are you spending, but where can you spend nothing and get more? And I think that there are some things that you can do. Like I'm a huge proponent. I think of leads in three buckets. I think of leads as branded leads, all the stuff I use my brand to get out there in the world. So a lot of paid media, my website, all that type of stuff. I think of my leads as my unbranded leads, like my aggregators and the stuff I could just kind of turn them off. I think of the third bucket being like my action leads, right? So like my like face to face, like I am taking action, getting in front of these leads, and those leads typically are no cost leads. Those are the things like, you got guys on a job site, did they knock on the neighbor's door and let them know I'm gonna be making some noise? My apologies. If you need to get away, let me know. Starbucks on me. By the way, if you like what you see here, come find me. It costs you, if you're paying the guy $40 an hour, it costs you $8 for him to go do that. That homeowner's happy, and at some point in time, they might come reach out to you. Are your trucks wrapped? Do you have yard signs so people know who's doing the work? Like, are you doing the basic like blocking and tackling that gets your brand out in the neighborhoods that you're working so that you get more jobs there? Because those jobs, that referral business we talked about, that's free, and that's going to bring that that issue lead cost way, way down with very minimal effort, as long as you have process around it.
We used to have success getting into events for free, like car shows, for example, where, because we're adding value to the event, the sponsorship was nothing. And we would do something creative, like we're going to auction off a set of 4 tires with, in-home estimate. So you get to enter a raffle, or you get to win, and so you spend a few $100 on some tires, possibly, but you get 100 leads out of this show, and there's not a lot of competition, and then you just crush it. But one thing I'm seeing companies doing, and maybe this is just my perception, maybe there's no validity to it, but I'm seeing the companies that are investing in content creation. So whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's a radio talk show, whether it's a podcast. I mean, I was hearing about this one gentleman, I forget what market he's in, but he has his own podcast. And of course, he's like the Bob Vila of his territory. He's like the trusted expert in his entire city that people would go to with questions and get answers. And he's got all kinds of content out there. And his closing percentage is like 95%. People just lay down for him because, his show is generating so much business. And then I have some other clients that do like basement refinishing, remodeling, where they're building out this kick-ass YouTube channel with all these basement walkthroughs and this high-end content, and it's turning into boatloads of leads. And of course, the amount of ammunition that gives you for social media and your website and how beautiful and professional. I just see that being so important, because I'll talk to one company and they're like, yeah, we video record everything. We got all this content up the wazoo. And then some have never picked up a camera once and done anything. It's like, we got all this technology at our disposal, and it's actually pretty cheap to do. But what do you guys see being the benefit of content creation? And do you see that playing a role in some of the success some of these bigger companies are having?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that you just mentioned there, Dominic, is when you do have a podcast or YouTube channel or videos of happy clients, right? What you're doing is you're setting that social proof and you're establishing yourself as the expert, right? So when somebody goes to a YouTube channel for a roofing company, or even if they just go to their website or the Facebook page or the Yelp profile, right? What they're looking for is the expertise. And as long as you can show that through great content, then you're going to shine out against your competition.
Social proof is so powerful. Have you read the book Persuasion?
I've not, no.
So there's this story in the book that I think about a lot, and I talk about it often in my sales training. But essentially, they're trying to get homeowners to invest in energy-saving technologies for their home. And essentially, they picked 3 different groups of people and did 3 different calls to action as to why they should invest the money. And the results were pretty hilarious. But the 3 different calls to action with group number 1, the first one was, you should invest in energy-saving technologies because it's good for the environment, it's going to reduce your carbon footprint. So that was one. The second one was, you should invest in energy-saving technologies because it's good for your own pocketbook, it's going to save you boatloads of money, it's going to pay for itself. That you would think would be the most obvious, right? But the third one was, you should invest in energy-saving technologies because everyone else in your neighborhood is, and you don't want to be the only one that doesn't. And as ridiculous as it sounds, because human beings are unreasonable animals, the group number 3, simply doing it because everyone else is, invested 3.5 times more money in energy-saving technologies than the other 2 groups combined. So I definitely agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. Like, social proof is crazy, like how powerful that is.
The consumer path to purchase is pretty linear. It's the same no matter what they're purchasing. And it runs in 4 stages. The awareness stage, the inspiration stage, the research stage, and the action stage, right? So awareness, I'm aware that I could do this or this product exists. Inspiration, I think I want to do it. I think I want to participate in this product, right? Research, I'm going to find out if I can afford it, if it's right for me, if it's a good fit, if all the things, right? Service provider, whatever. Action, like, all right, I'm filling out a form, I'm going to the store, I'm buying the thing, whatever it looks like. And Dominic, like you're dead on. We all know roofs exist. We all know we can replace our roof. Nobody's replacing their roof until their neighbor does it. Yeah. My neighborhood right now, there's, I think, 4 roofing jobs going on. We've had probably 4 roofing jobs going on for the last 6 months, different homes. So it just keeps me the next person. And I mentioned earlier, like we're about to do a big basement renovation. We're finishing our basement, right? That's fucking $100,000 that we're spending on this basement. And the canvasser knocks on the door again. great job by that contractor canvassing the neighborhood that they're working in, knocks on the door and says, we're working in your neighborhood. And we're like, we know. And my wife then goes, we probably should. All the neighbors are home the same age. We're spending, we probably should just do this too. And it could be free because of insurance. I'm like, I got you. But that's exactly right. Like, she's now at that phase, like you mentioned, like, she's inspired. The neighbors are doing it, therefore I should too.
Yep. No, it's so crazy, but good stuff. I wanted to switch gears here and actually go back to one thing that was mentioned earlier from you, Lucas, and is this whole notion of speed to lead, right? Because again, if you're out of leads, you're out of business. But of course, our philosophy that we always talk about is first one in, last one in mentality. Of course, be the first one in, prompt and efficient. And anytime that lead comes in within seconds, you want to be pouncing on that. And of course, once you get it on the schedule, your closer goes in there, make sure you're the last person they talk to. But what are some of the things you're seeing, especially now with the emergence of automation and AI, that being all the craze, and there's companies coming out of the woodwork from all different directions? What are you seeing being some of the strategies that companies are really starting to put to work for them to capitalize on that speed to lead, to be as efficient and prompt as they possibly can to make sure that doesn't slip through the cracks and get taken over by a competitor?
Well, let's see. A lot of the bigger companies that I'm working with, if they can afford it, they're going to have a call center, right? A call center, especially if you're at a certain place in your business's growth, right? That's going to be a great way for you to make sure that you can handle all the inbound leads in a fast way, but not also just like handle them when they come in, but a consistent follow-up. It's funny, I have someone that I was actually prospecting, a remodeler in Michigan. And I called and left a voicemail, it's like, hey, this is Lucas with Socius. Wanted to introduce myself, yada, yada, yada. And then somebody from their call center has been calling me back, maybe like once a week, thinking I'm interested in the project. I haven't answered yet. I've just been in meetings, but next time they call, I'll be sure to answer and kind of fill them in. But having that strategy of not only what do you do when you get an inbound lead, but how do you nurture it, right? And make sure that you're not being overbearing, but you're also being professionally persistent, right? We all know in sales, that's a big part of the job. But some of those automation tools that you mentioned too, if somebody calls a contractor and it goes to voicemail for whatever reason, having some sort of automatic text reply back that, hey, this is Lucas's remodeling. We're going to be with you soon. In the meantime, you can text us here. Another thing, too, that I've seen companies put into place is if they don't have a call center, but maybe they have 3 or 4 sales reps, they have an intelligent call routing software for their phones so that if person A doesn't answer, it rolls over to person B, to person C. Because of course, especially if you think of like a home services, right? Like HVAC, plumbing, those more like buy now projects. If you don't answer that call, of course, I'm going to call the next person that I see on Google. So just being responsive, but also making sure that you do have a good strategy for nurturing the inbound leads that you may have missed.
Yeah, so I've been testing out some of these AI chat or robots, I guess you would say, that actually you can have a conversation with on the phone. And, I got a demo of one and it was calling me and I answered the phone. And I swear, it felt exactly like talking to a real person. Like for me, it was just kind of mind blowing how that technology has evolved. And there's companies using this for outbound and inbound and of course nurturing and follow up. And it's just crazy to see where this could be in the next couple of years. I mean, it's going like the speed of light right now. But having some sort of automation, so you have your in-person call center, of course, that's a foundational pillar that every company should have. But then using automation and then some of these other AI-based technologies, you could have literally a 24/7 call center that could also help carry the load, especially outside of normal business hours. So it never shuts off, right? I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff. What are your thoughts there, Jim?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, data's scary. You can get as far in the weeds as you want with it, right? Or work at the highest level you want. But I think, like all the points you got to make, there's just in theory, you could take your call routing and say, I'm routing all my calls in this area to this guy because he's closest and can drive there fastest. I'm routing all these calls in this area to this guy because this particular demographic, they generally go to this school and they know about this particular thing that's going on. So you can drive like there's this socio kind of messaging to them, right? Maybe there's sports fans in this particular neighborhood, or there's economic circumstances. Like your rich neighborhoods are going to pair better with this particular salesperson versus your other neighborhoods are going to work well with this guy who's like better at financing and pitching financing or things like that. We used to work with companies with Hardy, and at James Hardy, one of the things that we had was like we had a lot of inbound leads that came through, and we could just kind of pass them off to contractors. There's one contractor we give them leads, and they were in a nicer area. They operate in a nicer area. When we give them leads, they go, "Yeah, we look at the zip code. If it's here, they don't have enough money." We're like, "That's a good neighborhood, not good enough for us." So okay, well, that's money on the table for you, but like they have a process. They know how that they're going to treat their leads a certain particular way. I think there's a lot of technology out there. So not just the stuff we're talking about in terms of your conversational tools and your AI tools that can reach out on your behalf or make sure that you're doing the right follow-up with your leads. But there's other things that can give you lead scoring data that tell you about, hey, this is what this lead looks like and how it's going to act in your system. Or based on this lead, this person's going to do best, this person's going to do worse. And like, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. So like I said, you can get this really into the weeds and start to really diagnose your business and have some ways to handle leads that service you as whatever way you want.
Yeah, I mean, our first step to our sales process is preparation, and that's becoming more and more apparent how important that is. And the tools that people have at their disposal now for next level preparation, it's almost like cheating. I mean, you can literally go into a house and know everything about this person, even their personality type, their hobbies, their likes, their dislikes, their income bracket, their credit scores. It's like, holy moly, you get plenty of time to really develop a strategy and, of course, be that chameleon in the house to modify my communication style. And maybe I can get some insight as to this personality type. If it's going to be an analytical or collaborative or assertive type individual, I can modify how I'm going to greet this individual so I don't talk myself out of the sale in 3 seconds. There's just so much to your point, pairing up the right individual with the right opportunity, and then all the information and data they can have at their disposal to make sure they're delivering the right presentation for the right person. It's truly remarkable. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and screen share. We got some good information that you guys put together here. I'm just going to have you guys walk through with us this market execution versus sales execution chart. And we'll obviously talk about the nuances of this. And of course, every lead source has pros and cons. There's no like silver bullet that exists. But I think I like the way you break this down just as an example to kind of walk people through, a really great marketing mix and kind of what to expect from the different types of lead sources. So I'll leave it over to you, if Jim, you want to lead into this, and then you guys can kind of break this down for our audience.
For sure. So we've been talking a lot about this already, right? This is kind of, we say, hey, if you're not measuring it, you don't really know what to do. So let's think about how we're measuring it and what that means to us. And this is a fake example. Obviously, we're using fake data here. We're not going to pull somebody's actual data and put it in front of you all, but it's pretty directionally correct. And as you look at it, you can see we've kind of broken it out. So certain things are labeled as branded versus unbranded things, right? So what am I doing with my brand versus leveraging somebody else's brand to drive it? An example of that, so I've talked about aggregators being unbranded. Well, Home Advisor or Angie is an aggregator. They're leveraging that Home Advisor or Angie brand to drive leads of homeowners in where they can consume those leads and then dispatch them out to whatever number of participating users they have in that particular area and that particular vertical. So that's what branded versus unbranded is. And then you've got these active lead sources kind of at the bottom here, which I talked a little bit about earlier. These are the things that you're actively engaging in, right? By way of going to home shows or canvassing or whatever that looks like. So when we think about this, the breakdown is what is my spend either on a monthly or annual basis? How many leads am I generating from that particular lead source? That'll tell me what my cost per lead is. And then from there, we were talking about kind of the NSLI, right? Or my cost per issue lead or my cost per lead. We can fill out 3 key pieces of information that tell us what we need to know, which is what our in-home appointment rate is, our sales rate is, and our cost of marketing is, right? So cost of marketing, for those of you not familiar, it's the inverse of your return on investment. So you're saying, how much revenue did I make off of my investment? You take the dollars invested divided by, or vice versa, the revenue divided by the dollars invested, you figure out your cost of marketing. And ultimately what you're looking for, what the industry will tell you the standard is, everybody says, I want to be at a 10% cost of marketing. right? The reality is that the more realistic cost of marketing is somewhere between 13 and 15%. But if you want to be at 10%, that's great. What that doesn't mean is that every channel is at 10%. What it does mean is that as a net, you're at 10%. So how do you make that happen? The way you make that happen is you have certain lead sources that are running at 1%, right? An email campaign costs you very, very little dollars to run. And then you have some that run at a very high percentage, buying a bunch of form leads, right? But my net at the end of the day is that 10%. And I get that 10% by moving my toggles on each of these distinct channels. So when you think about it, and I'll let Lucas talk a little bit more about some of this, but when you think about that, what we know is that, and I think we already mentioned this, organic search is going to be some of your best leads and one of your most foundational pieces to your marketing plan. But you can't say, I'm going to spend $10,000 more on my SEO each month and get that same return, right? So if I'm spending $1,000 and I go to $10,000, I'm not going to get 10x the number of leads. There's not a direct correlation. Whereas with PPC, a paid media plan, I can kind of say, generally speaking, up to a point, I can invest 10x and get 10x the leads, but same thing there. There's a point of diminishing returns. So knowing that knowing how each of your channels operates tells you this is where I want to invest. You can kind of start determining your thresholds and start to then work from there to figure out, okay, what new channels do I want to trial? What new service providers or particular channel should I be playing with, right? So you can kind of start to determine and iterate on these marketing channels. So this is a very basic version of this. Anybody who's using a CRM would have something like this existing in their CRM and they can go and operate or build their own on this. But the idea here is start with something and go from there. And this is just something to start with.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I just wanted to point out is this is a great example of what we were speaking to earlier of having that marketing mix and really being able to diversify. The biggest reason why you need to make sure that you're diversifying and always looking on how to improve is because in today's competitive landscape, you can better believe that if you're not doing something to get better at this business, your competition certainly is. So making sure that you can take that next step as a business, whether it's finding a new lead source or integrating a CRM, or making sure that you just understand your data, improving your SEO, right? Taking on a new challenge. Just always making sure that you're evolving as a business and taking that next step is really crucial to the overall growth. Another thing too, like Jim mentioned, most CRMs should have something like this. Just the integration of having a CRM with all of your sources, your lead sources, your sales software, that can go a long way in making sure that you understand where you stand as a company.
Yep. And I just want to point out one last thing out here. It does have marketing execution versus sales execution. The one thing to think about is our marketing execution, your channels or providers that you use to do the marketing piece, they're going to give you some level of execution that can be resolved by that issue rate, right? So my appointment set rate is essentially a measure of my marketing effectiveness. However, your sales effectiveness just kind of determines the rest. And even that appointment set rate is somewhat determined by your lead handling process. So if you treat all leads the same, which we already said we don't necessarily want to do that, right? Then all of a sudden you're going to give a bad readout on those marketing investments, right? So your sales execution is very much tied to your marketing execution and inversely.
That's incredible information. Now, one thing that I see a lot of clients looking into right now, because some people are feeling, instead of farming for leads right now, we probably better start hunting for them, is a lot of people are pursuing more boots on the ground, canvassing, face-to-face type marketing strategies. Do you think that that's wise with, what's going on with, all the restrictions, just like mass emails and all the mass SMS and all this stuff getting opt-ins? And some of the lead aggregators, obviously drying up or becoming more challenging where they can't sell the same lead 100,000 times. Do you see a lot of people doing more like boots on the ground?
Certainly.
It's such a good investment. You want to be present where your customers are present. If they're ready to take action, talk about those phases. If they're ready to take action and you're not there, you miss.
Yeah, and having exclusive leads is appealing too, right? Like true exclusive leads.
I think the industry is going to move that way. I don't think you're going to see a lot of shared leads going forward in 2025.
Yeah.
I was just going to put it simply. Most of the large exterior remodeling companies I'm working with, for example, all rely on canvassing as a tool to generate leads. So it's always going to have its place. What I tell those folks, though, is that homeowner, if they don't get their door knocked, if they don't already know of a company within their network, the first place they typically go is online, right? So whether you work with an agency or not, and of course, we would recommend that you would, right? But having that digital footprint is so important, so you can have that 24/7 salesperson. So yeah, canvassing's fantastic, but having that overall mix is key.
Absolutely. So of course, the next slide here, we talk about building your marketing plan. And of course, you meet companies at all different stages. How often are you seeing companies that have no marketing plan at all?
Often. More than you think.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me.
You've just been, we talk about you've just been on go. You've just been moving, right? You haven't taken that step back to go and create a plan. And so it's hard to do that. Like it really is. I highly recommend. I actually going to see and tell you, I don't recommend you sit and do that right now. I would say that you start measuring your marketing effectiveness right now as much as you can, and you take a step back in November and start saying, okay, where do I invest next year? And you got to lay down on screen. Like our recommendation for doing that, like let somebody else do the work for you. Socius can do your website evaluation. Very easy.
Yeah. So walk us through that. When I reach out to you guys and I say, hey, I just want to start here. Let's just start by doing a comprehensive evaluation of my marketing effectiveness. What does that whole process look like exactly?
Yeah, sure. So it starts with understanding what the overall goals are, right? For example, if I'm working with a company that's trying to go from 2 million to 4 million in revenue, right? You got to figure out where you're currently getting your projects. If organic traffic in your website is not creating leads, what we do is a digital audit to see how your website is currently performing. If leads are an immediate need, then what we might do is discuss a paid campaign, right? Whether it's Google, social media, but we rely on our team here at Socius to see what's available in the area in terms of lead generation through paid strategies. And go that route. But it's all about reverse engineering the growth goals. And we also rely on companies like EverCommerce, our sister company, to kind of fill in those gaps too.
Yeah, I mean, it's don't put up more than you can chew. So let somebody else do the work for you is the key here in my mind. The audit's easy. So your question is, Dominic, how do I do it? You literally put in your name, your email, and your website. We run an audit. We send it to you. It's a couple pages long. A lot of stuff you're going to understand. Some stuff that's total marketing jargon. We can explain it to you. By signing up for an audit, you're not signing up for anything but an audit. Somebody to go through it with you. Yeah. I'm sure Lucas is going to pitch you. He's going to pitch you hard, try to get you to work with him. But the word no rolls off the tongue real easy if you need it to. But it gives you the perspective on where your site is, whether you're working at an agency or not. It's always good to have that perspective of where your site is and where your opportunities are. You may say, those are great to know. I don't think I need to do that right now. Great. The second piece is to do the pro forma. And this worksheet, listen, you can copy it off the screen. You guys have seen it. We can send it to you. It's free. There's no charge. Like just email us, let us know you want it. It's got directions, but measure what you have going on. And I would bet, Dominic, that you guys have something that you guys are leveraging as well with the people you work with. Again, CRM, so I have this, but you don't have to sit and manual type and figure it all on pen and paper. There's tools out there that can do the work for you. So have those tools do the work for you. And then you take the couple hours it takes to sit back and digest that information and make a determination on where do you want to go, what do you want to do, how do you want to do it. And you can work with any number of people to help you do that, whether that's Grosso University or working with Lucas or myself. Like, we're going to find a way to help you get to where you want to go, right? It's just key that you have taken the time to digest at some level. You have a perspective on your company's performance and you own those results. You know why they are or where you want them to be. And then understand where the industry is at. And there's a number of different resources that are out there to tell you where the industry is at, that can tell you, hey, this is kind of expected marketing costs, this is expected cost of marketing, or expected appointment set rate, or expected kind of average ticket size. And the ticket size stuff is so funny because it'll tell you a lot about, like, you're underpricing or overpricing, typically underpricing.
Nice. So I guess talking more specifically about Socius and EverCommerce. So what are some of the services or elements that you bring to the table in the digital marketing space or marketing in general do you feel really sets you apart from other marketing agencies that are out there? Whereas like, especially in this area, this is why people come to us. And it could be even just what you just said, we'll sit down with you and, you don't have to commit to us. We'll do a full evaluation of your marketing effectiveness and give you a full report and explain it to you in layman's terms. I don't know if that's common, but some of the other ways that you truly partner up with your customers to ensure they have a successful outcome.
Yeah, I'll say what I said in the beginning, and then I'll pass to Lucas to talk more about what Socius does differently, because what Socius does is pretty cool. But ultimately, what makes EverCommerce marketing technology solutions different than anybody else is the fact that we're born out of consolidation. So the fact that we've acquired 10 different brands, 10 different businesses that all did marketing and lead generation a different way with different product lines and consolidated those into one business that now has the ability to kind of customize a solution for your business is very unique. And you're not, as far as I know to date, there's nobody else out there that can help build a plan for you that includes, magazine solutions, directory solutions, websites, paid media, pay per call, pay per, like all these different solutions together as one. Right. So that makes it very unique, and it helps it really customize it to where you are and where you want to go. And we see it a lot where you start with one product and then you kind of add on as your business grows. We have customers that have been with us for, 15, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Obviously, the level of data you have access to, and of course, the research that you've been able to acquire, just from all these different businesses working together. It's highly impressive. I guess this is a random question. I'm just curious, how many employees work for EverCommerce, or how big is EverCommerce with all of its entities? I mean,
EverCommerce as a business is, I think, over 2,600 employees now. Our marketing technology solutions group is right around 350 employees. So we're pretty expansive. And I was just bragging to somebody earlier. I was like, yeah, listen, like, you don't know, bro. We got people in all around the world. So we've got people working for us in Europe. We've got people working for us in the Middle East. We got people across the United States and Canada. So yeah, we've grown quite a bit.
That's a big goal of mine. I was really excited because we translated our entire Grosso sales training into Spanish now. So we're going to be able to target the Latino community and do a high-level professional training for people that necessarily don't speak fluent English. So that's been a mission of mine for a while, but certainly I would love to follow the sun around the world and be able to do it in multiple countries and stuff like that. Yeah, hey, just give me a warm intro. We're ready to go. I mean, it's a virtual business. I can talk to people anywhere, so there's no restrictions for us. So, so back to you, Lucas. Obviously, Jim just shared a really profound differentiator there, but what are some other things about Socius specifically that really sets you apart?
Sure. So Socius itself, the brand has been around since 2006. We're acquired by EverCommerce a few years ago, obviously. But really where Socius has made a name in this industry and kind of separated ourselves is because we really only work within the home improvement industry. That really is our specialty, where most of our clients are. So just knowing the industry, the ins and outs, and being able to over time earn partnerships with great organizations like Grosso, like some of the top manufacturers that you're going to see in roofing, windows, right? Everything. But really, it's a big thing that also sets us apart besides that is the fact that whenever we work with a company, all the work that we do for them is theirs. When we make a website for them, it's their property. When we run a paid campaign, it's in a Google account in their name. They control the budget. So many times you might work with an agency where you've got no idea where your money's going and you don't own your website. That's not the case with Socius. So earning those partnerships through delivering for your clients, Dominic, and our other partners' clients, having that expertise in the home improvement industry, really being that agency that focuses on making sure our clients own their data, own the work that we do. But really, when you hire Socius, you're hiring a full team. So you get someone like myself, but thankfully for our clients, there's people a lot smarter than me working for them, like your onboarding managers. We've got project managers that are assigned to accounts, account managers that are meeting on an ongoing basis with our clients. And then in addition to that, you have people doing all the work behind the scenes, like your SEO strategists, copywriter. If you're running paid campaigns, you've got a paid campaign strategist. And then, of course, a designer to make sure that whatever we design for our clients is really hitting the mark. So really just the expertise, the partnerships that we've earned, the transparency and reporting and how everything is our client's property, as well as whenever someone becomes a client, you're literally hiring a team of people who are working for you. So those are some of the things that do set us apart.
That's why I like, even when you're talking about the tips to define your marketing strategy is truly building a relationship with your service providers. And I like that that's really a foundational pillar of your entire culture there is, again, you guys, this is yours, you own it. We're truly going to partner up with you to support you. But again, it's your baby. And we're going to do the best we can to guide you along the way, step by step. So really, really good stuff. Now, I just wanted to touch briefly, and we're not going to go through a whole sales training exercise, but the big point I wanted to make on this webinar, because talk about maximizing conversion on leads, right? And on one hand, you got, again, there's different lead sources, there's things we can do to give my sales team great opportunities. But on the other hand, again, owning your results, there's also an element where I think a lot of companies miss the mark by equipping and empowering their sales team to know how to walk into different types of leads with a different type of strategy. Now, again, I'll be the first to say that the system reigns supreme. You're going to follow the system in a similar fashion on every home, and I don't want you skipping over steps. But what I find is, let's say I run TV leads all the time. And I, over time, develop a strategy that's highly effective for TV leads. And then all of a sudden, I'm issued a Canvas lead. If I go into that Canvas lead and attempt to run it the exact identical way that I've been running the TV leads, more often than not, I'm going to have an unsuccessful outcome. And one story I like to share, when I was at Mad City, we were closing TV leads at over 50% company-wide, 50% plus, something we're really proud of. And then we got a canvassing team, and none of us really knew much about canvassing leads and how to address them. But when we first started setting these canvas leads, our closing rate on those was like 12%. It was absolutely horrendous. But it never occurred to us that, wow, the same want and desire and urgency that was just innate in TV leads didn't exist in canvas leads. Some of these people weren't even in the market, right? They didn't even know like who we are or what we offered, and they're like, hey, price is good for 1 year. Might as well just take a peek and see what it is. But my salespeople over time learned that, on these canvas leads, I gotta be laser focused on obviously detecting a need and creating a strong sense of urgency to get this work done. And then of course, creating high levels of need, want, and desire that maybe already doesn't exist because maybe their priority is getting a new car or taking a vacation or something. Now I gotta make this a priority and create enough want and desire to get this done that it supersedes their desire to do whatever the hell else they had planned for their life, whatever else is on their vision board, right? So, but that's just an example, and then fast forward, what ended up happening is once my team cracked the code on canvas leads, and they knew how to put the right emphasis on those steps of the sale to really get dialed in on getting committed to the work. The cycle of motivation, getting really profound commitments on getting the work done sooner than later. Creating a lot of need, want, desire for their product, right? A lot of urgency, but want and desire. We were closing canvas leads at about 60%. It actually became the most in-demand lead source amongst our entire sales team. Because one thing they loved about it is it was super non-competitive. And the sales reps grew to appreciate that I can truly mold this situation in my favor. They don't have any other preconceived notions. And a lot of these people have no thought in their mind at all that they're going to shop around and look at other estimates, right? So those are some advantages. But then home show leads, for example. I have some clients that go to a home show and they kick ass and take names that generate hundreds of leads, right? Congratulations. But then their sales team goes 0 for 100 and they're bitching and moaning. These are way too competitive. They had appointments scheduled with 5 other companies. How am I supposed to do this? So then we talk, okay, instead of making excuses, let's be creative, think outside the box, and figure out what can we do. Let's be solution-oriented. And that's a big piece of advice I want to give everybody. Your sales team always has to be solution-oriented. Instead of being like, how can't I, or why can't I, how can I? Again, there's a reason why you're there. We were talking about this before, Jim. There's a reason why you're in the house. Obviously, depending on where they found you, it's going to be for different reasons. But you're not there just because they were bored and lonely and they wanted to talk to some random salesperson, okay? You're there for a reason, because at one point they determined they had an interest or some sort of need or desire for what it is you're there to talk about, right? So with that in mind, there's a section in our sales process that we call evolution. And this evolution segment is especially important on highly competitive leads. And essentially that's where you educate them on the entire industry, because everyone wants to feel like they've done their due diligence. You know, one thing I don't want is I don't want these people to feel like they weren't empowered to give me their informed consent, right? That's one thing that every salesperson should feel like they need to earn, is that prospect's informed consent. Well, in order to do that, I need to provide a world-class education, especially in highly competitive leads. So if I were to close a TV lead in 2.5 hours, that same homeowner from a home show, it'd probably be 3.5 hours. I need to be extra dialed in on taking them on a shopping spree, educating them on all the industry options, and having them come to their own conclusion that the best solution to their problems is, of course, our product and our service, the best long-term solution. Also, on highly competitive leads, the level of trust you need to build with these people has to be so high that they wouldn't dare give their business to anybody else. They're almost terrified to trust any other contractor to come in and any other design consultant or representative of their company, because their level of trust for you as their trusted advisor, as the true expert that can solve their problems and take care of them, is absolutely radiating. So again, I can talk for hours about this stuff, but the big message I wanted to convey here is, of course, get with companies like Socius, work with one of the EverCommerce sister companies, right? You got 10 options, but of course the headline here, Socius, they're absolutely experts in the home improvement field to help optimize your marketing mix, pour jet fuel on your digital marketing advertising efforts, and you owe it to yourself to at least do an evaluation. But of course, once you've partnered up with Socius and you got leads coming out of your ears, make sure your sales team is properly trained and empowered on the different types of lead sources that you're going to be getting issued when you diversify your marketing mix. So at the end of the day, you're coming out with high levels of conversion on those leads. And it's a balancing act. Of course, like you talk about turning the flow of leads up and understanding what that will translate into, but then I need to make sure that I'm not just throwing that money at nothing. Make sure my salespeople are trained, armed, and prepared to handle the different types of leads they're going to be exposed to, and throw the excuses out the window. Every house they go into is an opportunity, and with the level of preparation technology now that we talked about earlier, all the tools that salespeople have at their disposal, there's no excuses. We always say in sales, you can make money, you can make excuses, you can't make both, right? So excellent stuff. Well, again, I really, really appreciate all your time, and I just want to wrap this thing up. Of course, this is a pre-recorded educational webinar, and again, Lucas and Jim were so kind to provide a lot of free information. Again, they're not charging anybody for this, but I just wanted to say in closing, if you're looking for a partner to truly help you build your lead generation machine, make sure you contact Lucas and Jim, or I guess Lucas would be your primary point of contact there. If you want to schedule an appointment to learn more about Socius or EverConnect, make sure you go ahead and scan this. You can take your phone out. Let me get to that here. Oh, there it is. So we got the QR codes here. Make sure you take your phone out and scan that and schedule no obligation conversation, just a discovery. And I think that's a great place to start. Let's start at step one. Let's do an evaluation and see where you're at. Because I always say, diagnosis without prognosis is malpractice. So before they try to diagnose a prescription, a marketing mix that's perfect for you, let's see where you're at. And then from there, they'll walk you through step by step how to get where you want to be. And again, everyone wants to be at different levels. If you're trying to grow from 5 to 10 million or 10 to 20 or 2 to 4, they're going to help reverse engineer that, as Lucas said so eloquently, and put you on the right path to success. The reason why they're truly dominating this space and trusted by more companies than any other company is because they truly do partner up with the companies that they work with, and this is why we're honored to be partners with these guys, and that's something that's really important for us at Grosso University. Anytime we partner up with anybody, we want to make sure that they have the same type of philosophy that we do and to ensure that they're 100% invested in ensuring you run a successful retail operation. So I want to thank both of you for providing all the amazing information. And of course, if you want to talk to Lucas or Jim directly, at the end of this pre-recording, we are going to have about 10 minutes of live Q&A. And I also want to announce that Grosso University is offering an opportunity for you to maximize your conversion on all those precious leads. Grosso University has what's called the 60-day challenge we're offering to everybody on this webinar. I just wanted to explain really quickly what this means. Every single month, the second Monday of every month, we actually have a brand new class, and what this is called is a Sales Academy Masterclass. This is by far the most comprehensive training you'll receive from any organization in the home improvement industry. It's a full 2-week deep dive into our 11-step sales methodology, and it includes daily quizzes, testing, certification, and we basically train and empower all these salespeople to master our industry-leading sales methodology. And then we place them back into your organization where they have 24/7 access to our online training platform. They can get product-specific training, and they got access to weekly sales meetings. And for a full 60 days, we're letting everyone on this webinar do it absolutely free of charge. So you get a sales leader and a salesperson in there, go through our training, get a world-class education, get certified as a Grosso University Sales Warrior, get access to all of our services for 60 days. If you're not happy with the results, again, it's absolutely free, no obligation. And then if you want to continue those results for everyone else in your team, there's no long-term commitment. It's just month over month. We have to continue to earn your business and prove this out every single month. So we definitely encourage everyone, get the lead generating machine that you need through Socius, and then get the training through Grosso University. They'll tee them up, we'll help you knock them down. It's truly a recipe for success. So again, we'll go ahead and put that up there at the end of this webinar as well. If you want more information on our Sales Academy Masterclass and our 60-day challenge, don't hesitate to reach out and see what we can do to help you. So thank you, gentlemen, once again. And again, this is another action-packed Grosso University educational webinar on behalf of Socius, EverCommerce, and Grosso University. Yes, you are a closer.